So, what if we do another fan cast? What up, everybody? Trey here from the Imaginary Friends, and I am back with another fan cast video. It is October, aka spooky time, aka Halloween month, and I am loving it. And I am here with another fan cast. We started out with doing the Ghostbusters, and now we're transitioning into another iconic movie from the 80s. I am talking about the horror classic John Carpenter's The Thing. Now, I know that they did a remake of The Thing back in 2011, but let's just not talk about it. This movie means a lot to me. My good friend Joel Tinsley, whenever we first became friends, took me through what he liked to call film appreciation class, and we watched a bunch of classic movies. He loved slasher horror, and this was one of the very first movies that he showed me. It opened up the horror genre to me in a way that I never witnessed before. Kicking it off with the character of MacReady. In the original movie, we had Kurt Russell, and to be perfectly honest, this was the hardest selection I had to make. It is so hard to capture the enigma that is Kurt Russell. MacReady is a man's man, and I mean, that's what Kurt Russell was in the 80s. He was a man's man in this movie, and also in Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, even later on in movies like Death Proof, even in Up, Up and Away, I mean, he was the classic superhero. He could beat everybody down. He is a man's man. He's a guy's guy. He's a no-nonsense person, and that's what his character is. And so I decided to go with Scott Eastwood. Scott Eastwood definitely has the rugged good looks that Kurt Russell has. He definitely puts off that persona of I'm a man's man, you know, I'm bad to the bone, and nobody's bigger than me, nobody's better than me. I think he's the perfect choice. I think he's got good acting chops. I think that he definitely has the potential to make an excellent MacReady if they were gonna make a new movie. Next up is Dr. Blair, played by the unfortunately late now WILFORD Brimley. WILFORD Brimley was an amazing actor. Everybody knows him from Diabetes. He was actually, fun fact, the postmaster in Seinfeld. With someone as iconic as WILFORD Brimley, I decided to go with Danny DeVito. Now hear me out. I can hear people going, what? From all the way recording in my office. Danny DeVito is an iconic actor. WILFORD Brimley, whenever you say him, you have a certain image that comes to mind. He has name recognition. He's a household name. So is Danny DeVito. And if you look at WILFORD Brimley in the movie, he kind of looks like Danny DeVito now. I think he could play him. I think that Danny DeVito could tap into a part of him that we maybe really haven't seen since he was in Tim Burton's Batman Returns as the Penguin. Dr. Blair is a doctor in the movie. And he goes through this kind of creepy phase where he's really getting paranoid and he doesn't know who to trust, so he just kind of goes nuts. And I can definitely see Danny DeVito doing that. Next up is NAULS, played by T.K. Carter. NAULS is kind of a happy-go-lucky guy. He's the cook. He cleans up after everybody. He's always seen on his skates. I decided to go with somebody who's kind of an upbeat actor himself. I went with Malcolm Barrett. Malcolm Barrett has been on the scene for a while, but he hasn't really had a role that when you think of him, you think of that role. He's just kind of been a character actor up until this point. So I would love for him to come in and bring life to NAULS in a way that could maybe broaden his horizons. Next up is Palmer, played by David Clennon, and I decided to go with Lucas Neff. I think that they look the part. Lucas can definitely tap into that kind of conspiracy vibe that Palmer brings to the role. He's also a little bit of a comic relief. I think he's really funny in the movie. I think that he's a shoo-in. Now, Childs, played by the incomparable Keith David. Keith David is one of my absolute favorite actors. He's one of my absolute favorite voice actors. He has such an iconic voice. It's almost like the voice of God anytime he embodies a role and he brings voice to it. And so for somebody like that, for somebody who is that iconic, I decided to go with, and I'm gonna mess up the name, Chiwetel Ejiofor. You might know him better as Mordo from the Doctor Strange movie, as well as several of other roles. I think Chiwetel, let's just call him Childs. I think Chiwetel could play Childs. I think he would do a tremendous job of being kind of the foil to Scott Eastwood's McCready if they were gonna make the movie now. Childs is a character who is very belligerent, and he's very much against McCready's authority in this film, if you could call what McCready has authority. He just wants to get out of there alive, and he doesn't trust anybody. And I think Chiwetel could do that very well. He did a really good job transitioning from a very good character that was trustworthy and likable to menacing character by the end of Doctor Strange. I think he would be a really good choice. Next is Dr. Cooper, played by Richard DYSART. And I decided to go with Colin Mochrie. Colin Mochrie is, everybody knows him from Whose Line Is It Anyway? The reason why we all know him from that is because he is fantastic. And I think that up until this point, we have limited him to just doing improv, and I think he could do fantastic things on the silver screen. And so why not give him a shot as a doctor? They're both older characters / actors. The doctor is just trying to figure out what's going on in this movie. He's trying to help the Swedish people out as much as he can, and then he finds out that there's this thing that's taking over everybody, and just kind of, you don't really know who to trust. I think Colin could do that. I think give him a shot. I think he would be fantastic, and hopefully this would launch a long career from doing more than just Whose Line Is It Anyway and funny videos on the internet. Next is Vance Norris, played by Charles HALLAHAN, and for him, I wanted to go with Eric Stonestreet. Norris is somebody that is unsupposing, I think is a good way to explain him in this film. There's one point where the captain is having to relinquish his authority and give up a key that they need in the film. And he says, well, Norris, I don't think anybody would oppose to you. And the reason why is because he just seems kind of like a pushover. He's a secondary character. He's there to help out everybody else. And then, unfortunately, he befalls. Well, let's just stop there, because if you haven't seen this film, then I highly encourage that you go and watch it. But anyways, I think Eric Stonestreet has that lovable quality that everybody looks at and thinks is unmenacing. I think Eric Stonestreet could do that, play that character very, very well. Next is George Bennings, played by Peter Maloney, and I went with Mark Evan Jackson. Just look at the two. They look similar to one another. They, I think, have similar mannerisms. The main thing that you're gonna see in this film is how everybody goes from being this tight-knit group of people who are stuck in this Arctic research, and then how they just slowly become more and more paranoid and they start turning on each other. And so you watch Bennings go from this character who really enjoys the people that he's surrounded by, and he just becomes more and more paranoid. I think Mark can play that. I think that he would do a very good job playing that. Next is Gary, the captain of this ragtag group of men who are stuck freezing in the Arctic, and he's originally played by Donald Moffat, and I went with Robert Redford. Captain Gary in the movie, I don't think commanded as much respect as he could have, and so I would actually want that to change in the movie, in the remake. I think that Robert Redford could command respect out of these people. I mean, obviously he's been in a ton of films, but recently we got to see him in Captain America Winter Soldier, and when he interacted with other people, they listened and they did what he said, and I think that that's what the character of Captain Gary needs, and so I think Robert Redford would do a tremendous job in a remake. Second to last, we have Fuchs, and Fuchs was played by Joel Polis, and I went with Corey Stoll. I think they look just alike, first of all. Second of all, Fuchs isn't really around a whole lot in the film, and Corey Stoll is getting more and more popular, and if they ever did make this film, I think that he could pull off playing Fuchs, because he wouldn't have to commit that much time to doing it. He is another person who is in the medical field in this film that's trying to help out all the other researchers and crewmates in this Arctic excavation, so I think that Corey Stoll would do great. I've loved everything that I've seen him in, from The Strain to Ant-Man to This Is Where I Leave You. I think he's a phenomenal actor, and I think that he would be a great asset to this remake. Lastly, we have Windows, and Windows is the comic relief of the film by far. He was originally played by Thomas G. Waits, and I went with TJ Miller. They look similar. TJ could definitely pull off this vibe of I can't get nobody on the radio, man. Like, I could see him letting all of these quips out as he's interacting with everybody, kind of being snarky and sarcastic because he can't get anybody on the radio, and they're getting paranoid, and this thing is out there and it's trying to take over everybody. I think TJ Miller could be a comedic, paranoid schizophrenic. He's my choice. And that's it for this fan cast of The Thing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you like my choices, if you have somebody else in mind, I would love to know who your picks are. Please stay tuned, because I got some more of these coming. I'm planning on doing the Goonies pretty soon. I want to do Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I just did a Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, so you'll probably be seeing that sooner rather than later. So stick around, and hey, if you you see a hitchhiking dog that the Swedish people are shooting at, maybe don't pick it up. And until next time, keep that imagination alive.